The information in this program is for educational purposes only and is not meant to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any illness or disease or injury. Consult a qualified health practitioner for answers to your personal medical questions.
This is Restoring Health, Improving Lives Naturally with Dr. Lee Yardley on Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
Are you or your loved one in pain, facing surgery, or taking drugs with no end in sight? Don't give up hope. Dr. Yardley has had success with thousands of patients who previously tried all kinds of different procedures, but to no avail. Patients come from around the world to right here in the Northwest to get treatment from Dr. Yardley. So listen and learn about his unique and natural methods and the possibilities for you. This is Restoring Health, Improving Lives Naturally with Dr. Lee Yardley.
Dr. Yardley, in just a second, we're going to talk to one of your clients, Kathy, who I guess she heard about us on the radio, too?
Yes, she did.
Always a good thing.
It is.
Now, I understand that she reported some allergies to you and also carpal tunnel. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what was so amazing to me about Kathy is that when a person's lived with something for 51 years, usually they give up. You know, they don't think there's anything that can ever help them.
Sure.
She had not given up. She was looking for help still, and she'd lived with this for 51 years. Now, the carpal tunnel was a more recent thing. This had started just several years before she came in to see us. So these were amongst the list of things that she was hoping to see improved to improve her quality of life. These were kind of the two that stuck out.
All right, well, let's find out how it went for her.
Let's do.
Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to hear your voice.
We have Dr. Yardley here with me.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Dr. Yardley.
So, Kathy, I wanted to start. You had quite the list of maladies that were troubling you, and I was intrigued because you had a great deal of trouble with allergies. Tell us about what your condition was before you actually got together with the Yardley Institute.
I had pretty much lifelong problems with allergies. When I was young, well into my teens, I used to take a series of shots, and I got some relief from them. And then when I got to be an adult, I didn't take shots anymore, and I've just pretty much suffered through. You know, you take your occasional pill and hope that everything's going to work okay, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But I live in a climate, Washington State, which I love, and I just put up with it. But I'm plugged up in the morning, and I have, for some unknown reason, I have an earache in the right ear that has been bothering me for several years, and the doctor, my physician that I go to, has never been able to figure out why it hurts, but it had hurt every single day.
Well, that would be very uncomfortable. And did I also understand that you had some low back pain?
Oh, my goodness, yes. That is probably the driving force behind my making the phone call and coming in to see Dr. Yardley. I love to work in the yard, and I love to go out walking because that's kind of my form of getting exercise. Well, I have found that after doing either one of those, I was hurting really bad, lower back, and so that takes you out of the game. You're not, all of a sudden, you're not so excited about going out and working in the yard, and you're not doing your walking, and it takes a long time for that to go away, and then you do it again, and same thing over and over and over again. And so for me, it was just very depressing because I was having to give up the things that I really loved, and which was working in the yard and walking.
And I understand you work in real estate. You have to be able to get around to do a good job with real estate.
Absolutely, yes.
Mm.
So let's talk about the procedure. Lee wanted to jump in here. What,
yeah,
Lee?
I did, because you were wearing a night brace, I think, for that carpal tunnel when you first came to us as well.
I wore a brace every night to bed, both hands, and I was actually diagnosed with carpal tunnel.
Wow.
And I had my hands were getting really, really hot, and I had some pain. It wasn't over-the-top pain, but just enough to let me know that something was going on. That's all gone now.
Well, let's talk about the procedure first. What was it like when you went through the adjustment at the Yardley Institute?
Well, when I went in and I had my first adjustment, I asked the doctor when he was going to do the adjustment. He had already done it. It was amazing. I can't explain it because you don't feel there's no pain, I don't know what it is, but it's just, they do it so gently, you're not aware of it. It's just a matter of it seems like just a few seconds. I know it's a little longer than that, but there's absolutely no pain. you're not even aware that they're really working your body, and it's just amazing, the results.
Well, let's talk about those amazing results. Where are you with your allergies? Where are you with the carpal tunnel?
The carpal tunnel, I don't have any symptoms at all right now.
How about
I have not for some time.
How about your low back pain?
Oh my gosh, that was probably the biggest and the biggest blessing in my life to have it gone. It was really, really bothering me. Now, when I work in the yard or when I go for my walk, I don't have that lower backache on my, on me at all for days and days on time. I don't have it at all. It's gone, and that didn't happen magically overnight. It took a few adjustments, but I'm telling you, once it took, man, it's just been wonderful.
Have the allergies improved?
The earache went away.
Wow.
And the allergies are better. They're not gone totally, but they're most definitely better.
So overall, how would you rate your quality of life? Would you say that it's turned around, or it's just kind of better, or what?
I would say that if I had not gone in there, I would have been sitting in the house, fearful to go out and work in the yard, not spending any time outside, and just not working the way that it makes me happy to be outside and enjoying life. And so I would say my quality of life has improved dramatically. And everything that I was really hoping for from the Yardley Institute definitely happened. I've got my life back. I love it.
That is tremendous. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us, Kathy. It's an amazing one.
Well, thank you very much.
You take care, Kathy. Have a good one.
Thank you.
You can hear from over 100 patients discuss the incredible improvements they've experienced with Dr. Yardley at the Yardley Institute. Health issues like neck and back pain, headaches, sciatica, neuropathy, vertigo, and many others. Go to yardleyinstitute.org.
It's Todd Herman here at the fellow patient of Dr. Lee Yardley, D.C. Brent is with me. Hey, Brent, was there a specific medical situation you're facing that sent you to the Yardley Institute?
I was having severe sciatic pains and problems with my neck.
I know you're a contractor. Was it limiting you?
Very much so. I mean, I play soccer, ski, snowboard, and I found myself unable to do most of these things, and I didn't want to do surgery.
Tell me about your response upon the first gentle, non-invasive treatment.
It just kind of felt like he was putting a slight amount of pressure on there, not a great deal. And then it was done. And, it was less than 30 seconds, something like that. And the next day I was actually able to move, and my left leg where my sciatica really originates started lessening, and I was able to move it much more easily.
What's different in your life and your work now that you've been through the treatment at the Yardley Institute?
People have noticed my amount of energy is back. And I run up and down the stairs now. I can do that again. I can take 2 stairs at a time, and it's just amazing.
What do you say to people who are sitting on the fence going, I don't know if I want to go to the Yardley Institute?
Don't wait. Do it now.
Lee Yardley on Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. I've got Dr. Lee Yardley, D.C., from the Yardley Institute here with me. Lee, we've been recently talking about wellness optimization off mic, and that's a relatively new term. Where did you get that?
Well, my wife and I are always looking at how we can better serve the people that come to us at the Institute, but also how we can improve our own qualities of life.
Sure.
And this was a term that my wife caught on to or came up with, and we felt it described very accurately the mission of what we're trying to deliver at the Yardley Institute.
Okay, so tell me about wellness optimization. It sounds like, if I can reverse it, optimizing your body's health?
Exactly. A plane is much easier to catch before it gets off the ground. Have you noticed?
Yeah, no kidding.
And so that really describes this concept of health. Health is something we take for granted. We've all got it. Most of us are given it for most of our life.
Right.
And then what I see happening so much is that people take it for granted until they lose it.
Now, that brings home something that I've observed and we've talked about in the past, which is that quite often
the way you first encounter a patient is when their health is compromised in a significant way.
Yeah, for many of us, that's the bell that has to be rung
to get our attention.
Yeah, and then then you have a choice. You can do a few things about it. You can try and unring the bell.
Yeah.
Have you noticed you can't do that very easily?
Now we should explore that a little bit. What's the other thing we can do?
Or we can hear what the bell has rung and what it's told us, and then we can take that and run with it.
Now, what that brought back a memory. We've talked many times about this, too. That is that sometimes the bell rings and we put things off.
That's true.
And there's a consequence to that, right?
There is. Yeah, often when we're trying to recapture our health after we've lost it, that's where people often come with us. And the good news is we can help a lot of those people. The bad news is we can't necessarily unring that bell. There's going to be some permanent repercussions as a result of it. And then if all that we try and do is patch that thing up and then move on with life, now we've set ourselves up for a catastrophe.
Yeah, and which is why we talk about during the show a lot, don't put it off.
Right.
Get after this. It's not a thing to procrastinate about because there is a consequence down the road. And the consequence is maybe we can't help the condition to the degree that we would hope for.
Right. But, there are many wise people out there. And when they hear this, they make a choice. Let's not wait until we're losing the health.
Right.
Let's see what we can do. It's like, let's catch the plane before it gets off the ground. Mm-hmm. Let's make some good choices. And this covers a broad spectrum of things that may need to be addressed. The food choices we make, our diet, the exercise, the mental and spiritual aspect of our life, and that's a different take for each one of us. But yet, I think the most important thing is that brain-body connection, because that taps in to the inborn ability of the body to heal itself.
That brings to mind a story you were telling me recently. I know from having worked with you for a while now that one of your great joys and that you're fascinated by is that somebody comes to you for one condition, and in the process of correcting the brain-body connection, another condition improves. You have a story about that, don't you?
Yeah, the ongoing delight of what I do is that, yes, people come, and I sit down with everyone, and I say, what's the one single thing you most want to see gone as a result of coming here? But within the context of that discussion is often a litany of various issues that they've been living with and just thought they had to live with.
Yeah.
This particular case, and I'm not going into the case completely or in great detail, but I had a gentleman sit down with me just this past week. And this is a gentleman like myself that's in his middle ages. And he says, prior to coming here, I had issues with acne. I always had acne on my back. And I never knew why. For whatever reason, since I've been coming in and seeing you, that stopped happening. And, of course, it was a big question mark for him. Why would this happen? But it was clear in his mind. The only thing that had changed was the fact he was getting his brain-body connection corrected.
Now, Lee, can you explain to the people going, okay, so why did the acne clear up? And keeping in mind that at the Yardley Institute, you do not cure anything.
That's correct. We cannot. The body heals itself. Yeah, so, one of the reasons that things like this happens is that the body's kidneys, the purpose of the kidneys is to remove toxins from the body.
Right, to purify.
Exactly. But it can't always do that well, and it has backup systems. One of the backup systems is the skin. If your kidneys are not functioning at its highest level, it will begin to remove those toxins through the skin. And it might show as acne, it might show as a number of different things.
Yeah.
But once that brain-body connection is corrected, oftentimes those kidneys now start functioning at a much higher level, and that backup system is no longer necessary.
So when we're talking about wellness optimization, encapsulate it for me. What are we talking about?
We're talking about taking every system in the body and having it function at its highest possible level. And you do that by removing that which is stopping it from occurring.
And in order to do that, what do we have to do?
That brain-body connection has to be functioning at its highest possible level.
So what that basically means is that your body is talking to your brain, and then your body can take over and do what it does best.
Under the direction of the brain.
Perfect.
Control systems.
Are you in pain, facing surgery, or taking drugs with no end in sight? Dr. Yardley is here to help. His gentle, non-invasive treatment allows the body to heal naturally with no drugs or surgery. Learn more at yardleyinstitute.com. 1-800-277-1043.org.
Hey, it's Todd Herman. I'm here with a fellow patient of Dr. Lee Yardley, D.C. Craig, you started going through the treatment. When did you realize you'd seen improvements? For me, it was at the gym, walking around realizing, wait a minute, my joint pain's gone.
Mine was when I would wake up in the morning. I was having back pain, and I felt like it was going down into my buttocks area.
Yeah.
I would sleep different ways, hoping that it would fix it, but I would always wake up with a pain. After the first one or two sessions with him, I woke up without any pain, and it was such a relief to wake up refreshed without feeling that pain level that I would wake up with.
I'm smiling as we're talking, Craig, because I remember sleeping in a whole bunch of different wild positions.
Yeah.
What's it meant for your overall quality of life?
It's much different. I mean, I can get up in the morning and bend over and put my socks on, which doesn't seem like a big deal until you can do it again all of a sudden, you know?
Right.
I'm a little older and a little wiser, and I've put up with some pain in the past, and I would say don't be like me and sit out there and hesitate and wait. Just go get it done.
I couldn't agree more.
Now more of Restoring Health, Improving Lives Naturally with Dr. Lee Yardley on Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
Welcome back. Dr. Lee Yardley is here with me. Now, we're going to talk to somebody from the old country.
That's right. His name is Wally, and he's from England.
Hey, it's the old country to you and me because my family's from England originally, and you're a New Zealander, so...
Yeah, actually, I'm a fifth-generation New Zealander, but my family originally came from England, and so he talks a little funny. Yeah, he does.
He has an accent.
He does. He has an accent. You know, the thing about Wally, when he first came in to see me, on his very first visit, he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, if you can help me,
yes,
I'm going to put you in for a knighthood with the Queen.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
I said, I'm holding you to it.
So are you up for a knighthood?
I don't think they come that easy. Not that it was easy, but I'm not sure we'll qualify. But I'm holding hope that he has the influence.
Okay, well, let's find out. So, Wally, is it true you're going to get him a knighthood?
Well, I was in such a bad way, Frank. I did promise Dr. Yardley if he could do anything with me, I would arrange it for him.
Well, I produce this show. How do I get in on this act?
You don't even qualify.
So tell us what your situation was. What were you suffering from?
Well, I'd had what they called a Turner-Parsonage syndrome in my shoulders for some years, which the medical profession weren't too sure what caused it. It was an arbitrary thing. Now they realized it was a virus. And then in January this year, I developed a severe neck problem. My neck just seized up.
Wow.
And had severe headaches. I couldn't turn my head. And it was pretty rough. I used to get up in the morning and think, I didn't want to get up in the morning because I knew I had a whole day of pain and then stiffness, and it was starting to affect me mentally as well. You know, you get down.
Well, yeah, when you live with eternal pain and there's no light at the end of that tunnel, that's going to change your whole view of the world.
And it did. And I saw my family doctor was getting frustrated, not with me, you understand, but he was getting frustrated because he couldn't do anything for me. And I saw a couple of neurologists, and nothing was changing. Nothing was happening.
So you went and saw Dr. Yardley after hearing the show.
Yes, I did.
Tell us about it. What was that experience like?
Well, it was great. Of course, you know, Dr. Yardley is very, very, very thorough. And he wants to know everything that went on. Mm-hmm. And in the end, he said, I think we can help you.
So tell us what that experience was like. Did they get you on the table and put in giant electrodes and make you feel like you were Frankenstein? It was very invasive, I'm sure, and awful, right?
Absolutely nothing happened, Frank. He laid down, sort of walked around me, made some measurements, touched me a couple of times, and I just sort of lay there. He said, right, it's done now.
Now,
Lee, did you fake him out?
Well, it had to be a scam because nothing happened.
But I warned him beforehand he wouldn't feel anything.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and it wasn't that nothing happened. He just didn't feel it happened. That was all.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
He's teasing me. Dr. Yardley has a little thin skin here. He was obviously pulling it. It's that British wit.
Yes.
Yeah, yanking the chain.
That's it. So what has been so we get from the fact that it's non-invasive, that it's pleasant, that it's amazingly gentle. What's been the product of that?
Well, to be honest, I'm sure, as Dr. Yardley would tell you, I was a severe case. It wasn't going to be an overnight cure.
Right.
And so nothing, to be honest with you, happened much the first week or two. And then in the third week, I noticed, and it was so very minor, I noticed that I could move my neck, maybe just a quarter of an inch. But now, I've got to tell you, I used to drive with this stiff neck, and I couldn't really see much in the side mirrors. So
wow.
I was taking life into my hands at every stoplight, stop full. And all of a sudden I found I could actually see into one of the mirrors. And when I went back to the clinic that day for one of my checkups, and I told one of the doctors, it was Dr. Wheatley, I said, I don't want to get you all excited here, but I think I can actually move my neck a bit. And so he was quite pleased. But the next thing, Frank, and the most amazing thing of all, was mood change all of a sudden. And it wasn't just because I could move my neck an eighth of an inch. My whole mood started to change. I started to feel my old cheerful self. And it wasn't until I mentioned this that Dr. Yardley said, oh, yeah, casually. That's one of the first things that happens to some people. I'd have gone just for that.
So where are you today? What's your circumstance today? How do you feel?
Tremendous progress we made. The headaches have almost disappeared. I can actually move my neck, not fully, but I can lead a normal life. I can start to do things. I was writing a book before all this pain started, and of course I didn't do anything for a year because I had no energy. But now I've got energy, I've got less pain, and I've just got this great new attitude, and it's amazing. And I went to see my old medical doctor, and he said, I am amazed. And I told him where I'd been. He said, you're doing the right thing. Now you're walking upright. Before, used to be sort of hunched and down. He said, now you're cheerful, you're happy, you're your own self. And it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating what's happening.
Dr. Yardley?
Well, you can drive safely again. And what was already a delightful personality is getting even more delightful as we go along. I can't wait for my knighthood.
It'll be my pleasure. I have to make sure she's careful with that sword, though.
Exactly.
Well,
no shortcuts.
I appreciate you making the time to talk with us this morning. It was great to meet you.
Frank, it's been my pleasure. Absolutely.
Do you suffer from migraines, headaches, neck and back pain, sciatica, joint pain, or neuropathy? These are all health issues Dr. Yardley's patients have seen incredible improvements with. Hear from over 100 patients at yardleyinstitute.org.
Hey, it's Todd Herman for Dr. Lee Yardley, D.C., and I'm chatting with Dan, who is a fellow patient. Your wife saw improvement with sciatica, headaches, asthma. You go there just to support your wife. You are off the Xantex and you're off the Tums. That's incredible.
And within just a few months, my doctor took me off of my diabetes medication.
Wow. And the pills are gone.
And, oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't take anything.
What would you say to people about Dr. Lee Yardley as a guy who restores the body's ability to heal itself?
I have to say that I was skeptical, and I understand that. And so people are probably maybe a little skeptical. But really, what do you got to lose?
Yeah.
And if there's something out there that can help, and there's so much that we don't know, and the body works in ways that most of us just do not understand at all, and Dr. Yardley does understand ways that the body works, and he can help people because he knows those things.
It's not disease care, it's health care.
Right. It's been a very positive experience for us.
You're listening to Restoring Health, Improving Lives Naturally with Dr. Lee Yardley on Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
Welcome back. Thanks for making time to join us. Dr. Lee Yardley, D.C. is here. Dr. Yardley, I want to talk about the science, the wonderful science of the body.
Yes, and it's amazing, the human body and how it operates. I mean, we take a look at the brain, and it is far more sophisticated than any computer that has been created by man to date. And if you take a look at that brain, it has like 86 billion neurons in it. I mean, that's a fantastic number.
It's a huge number. In fact, it's a number that you simply cannot comprehend.
Exactly. But most of us don't realize that there's actually a second brain in the body.
No, there's not.
There is. There is a second brain in the body.
Where is it?
It's in the gut.
In your belly?
Yes.
Really?
It on its own. It has 100 million neurons, and they can function independent of the brain.
Fascinating.
So it's known as the second brain in the body.
Okay.
So we start looking at the body. It gets very interesting. You take a look at energy fields. Now, like one of the energy fields we're most familiar with is the magnetic field around the planet.
Sure.
And we're all bathed in it every day.
We live in it.
Yes. Now, one of the technologies that we use at the Institute is thermography.
Right.
When thermography was first developed back in the 20s, they wanted to test it and isolate it from the magnetic field of the Earth.
Okay.
So all of the initial testing that was done for years was done in what's called a leaded grounded booth. And they had a radio in there, and they plugged it in. You couldn't hear anything because it was all shielded. Now, the problem was when they put the operators in to do the testing, if they kept them there any longer than 20 minutes, they collapsed.
Really?
Yes. The human body needs to be in that magnetic field. It can't function outside of it, you see.
Yeah.
We bathe in radiation. People don't realize this. People run scared of radiation. But what they don't realize that here in the United States, the states with the highest level of background radiation have the lowest incidence of cancer. In the provinces in China, the provinces that have the highest level of background radiation have the lowest incidence of cancer.
Fascinating.
Yes. So on something that's very damaging on high levels, even fatal,
right,
it doesn't by definition mean that on low levels that it's even harmful. It may in fact be healthy.
Okay, I'm with you.
This is called radiation hormesis. And one of the foremost experts on this is actually at the Victoria University up in Canada. The EMF field that's created by the heart is actually 5,000 times larger than the electromagnetic field that's created by the brain. So when we take a look at the body, there's a synchronization and integration and communication that really facilitates this thing that we call health.
Okay, we need to stop. Define your terms real quickly. Those three terms again, just real briefly, what they are.
Synchronization is how the various energy systems within the body, the EMF fields, etc., how they're actually synchronizing with each other.
Okay.
Integration is how the various systems support each other within the body on a physical level, not necessarily on an energy level.
Sure.
And then communication is what makes it all happen.
Sure.
That occurs over the nervous system, but it also occurs to some extent on a non-physical level as well.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so as we look at this, the wonder really is not why do we get sick. The wonder is how do we function for 75 to 100 years and have as fewer problems as we do.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So there's something that can put a major monkey wrench in this whole thing, and it's a compromise in that brain-body connection. The synchronization, integration, and communication starts having a little bit of a hiccup here, a little bit of a hiccup there, and things don't quite work the way that they did. And yes, they may be able to put a name on it. Maybe they won't be able to put a name on it. Maybe instead of trying to contain this with a disease care approach, you might want to take a look at it from a more global approach. Perhaps healthcare instead of disease care. Perhaps correction rather than containment.
In other words, instead of trying to contain the symptoms or treat them, you worry about, okay, what's the origin of this, and what can we do to the entire system to correct the problem?
Exactly. We have been trained and raised in a society to believe that we define health as being the absence of symptoms, and it's not supported by science. So instead of defining it as the presence or absence of symptoms, attacking and getting rid of it, why don't we look at the health systems within the body, the synchrony, the integration, and find out if there's a problem there. And if we have no symptoms, let's correct that. Let's not wait until it's a problem.
Well, let's talk about the brain and body connection, because you and I talk about this a lot. But for those who are just joining us for the first time, what is the brain-body connection, Lee?
Well, the brain coordinates everything that goes on in the body, and it does so through a series of communications.
Right.
And you'll find that if you take a look at the head and the neck, that's the Achilles heel. You've got the single most movable bone in the neck,
right,
and it's got this thing on the top called the head.
Right.
And if it's sitting crooked on the neck, then it's going to start compromising those communications.
And by the communications, you mean to the rest of the body.
Exactly.
Which is how we end up with all the various things that people come in with you: acid reflux, headaches, migraines, vertigo, sciatica, neuralgia, arthritis. All of those things there's an impact on them from correcting the brain and body connection, because what are we doing?
There can be an impact depending upon what's going on. In other words, that compromise in the brain-body connection has the capability of creating each and every one of those things. But does that mean that it's a cure-all? No, but it helps a lot of people with those problems.
Absolutely, it does.
You can hear from over 100 patients discuss the incredible improvements they've experienced with Dr. Yardley at the Yardley Institute. Health issues like neck and back pain, headaches, sciatica, neuropathy, vertigo, and many others. Go to yardleyinstitute.org.
Hey, so George is a fellow patient of Dr. Lee Yardley, D.C., and he's dealing with a whole list of health problems prior to seeing Dr. Yardley. He had balance issues, constant numbness, tingling pain in both feet, serious low back pain. You even had low back surgery, but you're still in pain. So, George, what happened after you started to see Dr. Yardley?
I started going to Dr. Yardley, and just everything changed around. I tried running, and I thought I'd never run again. So I tried running the other day, and it's getting better. You know, it's some might not call it running, but to me, it's a lot.
Hey, George, running is running. So how's the pain? Is it still there?
Yeah, I know the pain. I don't have pain anywhere.
That's awesome. Tell me, what's that meant for your quality of life?
You know, I have as good a quality as a guy my age can have. I don't know if anybody that has any better. You know, I'm semi-retired. I'd say pretty excellent for my age.
George, I'm so happy for you.
Now more of Restoring Health, Improving Lives Naturally with Dr. Lee Yardley on Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
Welcome back. It is great to have you listening. Now, Dr. Yardley, in just a second, we're going to talk to Vicki, one of your longtime practice members. Mm-hmm. And she came to you with some issues, sure, pain issues, but that's really not why she's stuck around, because she's been with you for something like 14 years.
That's right. And, you know, fully a third of the people that come to the Institute come to us saying, I've got no problems. I'm feeling great. I enjoy a good quality of life. You know something? I want to keep it that way, and I'm here to correct any problems that might change that for me in the future.
Vicki, welcome to the show. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
And Dr. Yardley is here, too.
Hi, Vicki.
Hi, Dr. Yardley.
So, Vicki, we like to start things out by finding out what initially led you to Dr. Yardley. What were you experiencing physically that thought, okay, maybe I should go to the Yardley Institute?
Well, actually, when I first started going to Dr. Yardley was years ago, and I had gone to several chiropractors, and I never got any relief at all. And so I went to Dr. Yardley, and he did some interesting things. And so I thought, oh, this is different, and I will stick with him and see how it works out. And I did that. And over the years, it's certainly paid off.
Well, let's start with some of the things you felt. Did I understand that you had some neck pain initially?
Well, I actually experienced 4 whiplashes from auto accidents.
Wow, 4 whiplashes.
Yes.
And what did that mean for you? I mean, did you have things like headaches? What was your neck pain like? Tell me about that.
Well, it was over the years. I had these different accidents, and every time I had to go back to Dr. Yardley, basically, to get fixed, you might say.
Sure.
And my problem was vertigo. And my vertigo was so bad, I couldn't stand up, I couldn't walk. I couldn't hold anything down.
Wow, and did that last for long periods of time, or was that you just have short episodes of that, or what?
I would have literally episodes of it that would put me to bed, and I couldn't get out until I went to Dr. Yardley and got fixed.
Wow. Tell me about your spine. Did I understand that you had some stiffness there? Because at 4 automobile accidents, wow, that is a lot of potential stress on your neck and your spine.
Yes, well, it certainly impacted my spine and my lower back. But every time I got a treatment from Dr. Yardley and got adjusted, it improved.
Well, let's talk about that adjustment then, because you keep coming back to that again and again. Did you find it to be invasive or in some way hard, or was it gentle? What was your experience of that?
Not invasive at all. Very, very easy. And that was the other thing that I liked about it, and that is that it wasn't invasive and it was very holistic. It wasn't something where I felt that I was going to be manipulated to the extreme of being in pain. I was already in pain, or I was already, having vertigo. So any little touch or twist or turn or anything I felt, and I wanted to avoid that as much as possible. With Dr. Yardley, I didn't have that experience.
Let's jump forward a little bit. You've been with him for a long time. Let's talk about your quality of life today, because obviously, you'd have those issues treated. So where are you at? What's your neck like today after those 4 automobile accidents? I
would say that it's fully functional. For my age, I feel like I look younger. I act younger than most women my age. I always look at being in touch with my body and making sure that if it tells me that there's something going on, I need to do something about it. And I've always been proactive about that. And that's what I've always liked about Dr. Yardley. He's always proactive about, hey, is something coming on? Let me know. Don't hesitate to call. Don't hesitate to come in. We'll work around it. We'll work it out. Whatever I need.
So headaches gone?
I don't have any headaches. No.
Stiffness in spine pretty much gone?
That's all gone. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So what has this meant for your quality of life? What are you able to do?
I imagine that if I hadn't met Dr. Yardley in his treatment, that I would be an invalid today, or I would be dead, one or the other, because you can't live with vertigo and you can't live on drugs all your life. So the MD system would have just given me a lot of vertigo drugs, because I did land in the hospital a couple of times, and that's all they wanted to give me. And I said, no, I'm not taking any. And I said, they got very upset about that.
It sounds like you're almost limitless in what you can do.
Oh, yeah, I go horseback riding. Oops, Dr. Yardley, I do go horseback.
That's fine. Just don't fall off them.
Just don't fall off them.
That's right.
Exactly. I have a little farm. I have a little mini farm of 3 acres, and I do a lot of stuff.
And what got me into this work over a quarter of a century ago was vertigo, flat on my back for 7 weeks. The same thing that Vicky suffered from.
Well, Vicky, yours is a terrific story, not just because of how it helped you, but sort of the quality of life thing and how you've extended it. Thank you for sharing it with us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks a lot, Vicky. You take care. Have a great one.
Thank you very much.
Are you in pain, facing surgery, or taking drugs with no end in sight? Dr. Yardley is here to help. His gentle, non-invasive treatment allows the body to heal naturally with no drugs or surgery. Learn more at yardleyinstitute.org.
You're listening to Restoring Health, Improving Lives Naturally with Dr. Lee Yardley on Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
Dr. Yardley, we haven't talked about carpal tunnel syndrome in quite some time, and it's notably common nowadays with people spending their days at a desk, at a computer, tapping on the keyboard. What is it? What's carpal tunnel really?
It's so true that it is becoming more and more prevalent in our society. It's a condition where there is thought to be a collapse of the bones in the wrist, entrapping the nerve, resulting in numbness in the hands and fingers. Typically starts to show when you're sleeping at night. You'll wake up, your hands asleep, you'll shake them back out, but then starts beginning to be a problem during the day too.
Now, you're not going to come on here and say, we can cure carpal tunnel syndrome.
Not at all. Not any more than we would claim anything else. We don't claim to cure. The body heals itself.
Now, explain that real quickly. When you say the body heals itself, we're talking about lining up the cranium with the spine correctly. Mm-hmm. And so what does that mean?
Well, a cut heals itself in 2 weeks. The body produces a baby in 9 months. The body is a self-healing, self-creating, self-regulating entity. So if it's not doing the job right, there's got to be some reason, some interference. Sure. One of the more common interferences that we've found clinically over the past 30-plus years has been a compromised brain-body connection. And the place that this can most easily occur is at the very top of the neck, with the head not sitting straight on the neck. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is the sheer mass mass of the skull starts creating compensations in the lower part of the neck, which just happens to be where the nerves exit that go down to the arms, hands, and fingers. And one of your keys or tip-offs that this is indeed what's causing it is when it occurs on both sides. If you've got wrist going on both sides, it's probably got to go back to a common cause, not the wrist, not the elbows, not the shoulders, but back to the neck.
So we're back to talking about carpal tunnel.
Yes.
So this is happening on both wrists,
yes,
as opposed to just one.
It's probably a neck issue.
Okay, so give me an example. You say that you've worked with some people with carpal tunnel syndrome with some pretty good success?
Well, yes. We had one gentleman, his wife actually, Amber, had been a patient for years.
Okay.
And was just a really big endorser of the work that we did. Her mother was also a practice member at the Institute. And anyhow, he kind of really resisted it. And she'd be telling me about it, and he reached a point where he had carpal tunnel in both hands. And it wasn't until he missed 3 days of work in a row because he couldn't. And what he does for a job is he replenishes fire extinguishers. Right. And so at any rate, reluctantly, he came in, but and really in a lot of pain. I mean, he was not a...
So we had a skeptic in pain, is what we had.
We did, very much so. Very much so.
Okay.
With a wife that really believed in what we did.
Well, that's reassuring, okay.
It was. And so anyhow, we accepted him for care, and we started with his initial correction, and we worked with him. He was back to work the next week. And, a month, 2 months into it, he was doing much, much better. And these days, he functions basically pain-free unless this resubluxates. And now he knows that.
Well, you just used one of those technical doctor kind of...
This is when we get a compromised brain-body connection. It's at the very top of the neck where the head is sitting crooked on the neck. And when that goes out, for him, he's in the next day. He knows what works. He is in the next day.
And so it can reoccur. And quite often does?
Well, what happens is people, especially people like this gentleman, who really don't want to come in and see us and wait till it's so damaged. When they do come in, we can help them a lot. But by then, there's a programming in the nervous system of the way it was, and it has a tendency sometimes to default back to that old programming.
Sure. Now, you had another patient that you were going to talk about, too?
This is a gentleman that actually travels over from Polsbo for care and has done so for the past 5 years. And certainly... carpal tunnel was one of a list of issues that he had. And for him, he was unable to work, not just because of this, but because of a syndrome of issues that were going on.
Okay.
So we accepted him for care and started working with him. And within his first 6 weeks of care, he reported that his wrists were doing 50% better.
50% better?
50% better.
That's pretty quick.
Yes, it was a good change. And for him, once again, one of those situations that we're sort of the last resort when he's tried a dozen other things.
Sure.
And he continues to do good, although, about 50-60% improvement in the wrists are about as much as we've been able to achieve with him.
Now, why does that happen? So sometimes, often, you have, 90% or better elimination of the pain.
Right.
And then occasionally you have something like this where maybe it persists a bit longer than you expected it to, or just persists, period. Why does that happen?
It's a thing called limitations of matter. It means that the body has a limited capability of repairing because of permanent damage. Like, for instance, I have one guy that comes to see me, Don, and he's a triple amputee.
Okay.
He has one arm. He's a veteran from the Vietnam War, and both legs gone and one arm gone. He's got one arm to work with.
Okay.
And this guy's amazing. He can get around with his wheelchair. He and I are real clear on one thing. No matter how good I reconnect his brain with his body, he is not going to grow another arm and two legs back, you see.
Yeah, sure.
So there's permanent damage there. Now, that's pretty obvious, but you'll find that with conditions, it's more subtle. It's more difficult to predict. And sometimes based on my clinical experience, I can accurately predict it, and other times, many times, we can't. What we have to do is reconnect the brain with the body, and then let's see what it's capable of.
Thanks for listening to Restoring Health, Improving Lives Naturally with Dr. Lee Yardley. You can learn more about the Yardley Institute and listen to over 50 patients share their remarkable stories. Just go to yardleyinstitute.org. Tune in next Sunday for Restoring Health, Improving Lives Naturally with Dr. Lee Yardley on Cairo Radio.